Hey guys,
Hey!
welcome
Woo!
to today's live stream. This is your boys Lee and Emmanuel, and today we're not alone. We have a very, very special guest to us that we're happy to announce. No one else than the legend Ola Strandberg. Hey Ola, how are you?
Hello, not too bad. I'm enjoying not hosting a live stream, just participating, kicking back.
Yeah, your
I
live
can,
streams.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I've been watching a few of them. They've been really, really good. A lot of fun.
Thanks. Yeah.
Right.
Also enjoying hearing. I hear your guitar signal, only the acoustic sound, so it's interesting and fun.
That was like the eye shred.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So today I got two Strandberg guitars with me. One is now Ola. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the standard 7, right?
Correct.
Right. I chose that one A because it looks awesome, B because it is awesome, and C because this is like around. This is probably the most like cheapest 7-string model you could get, and on the other side I have this gorgeous looking 8-string model. This is pretty new to the market, I guess, and this is like the most spec'd out Strandberg guitar you could get probably. So we have two guitars that are kind of like not the opposite, but that are pretty different spec wise. This is a 7-string and this is an 8-string, by the way. So what we'll do today is that we're gonna talk our way through these guitars, and then we also like we'll start by just talking about Strandberg guitars and Ola in general. And guys, if you have any question at any point, like don't be shy, don't hesitate to ask, and we will forward them to Ola and hopefully get them answered. All right, so that's the plan for today.
I'm
All
up for
right.
that.
Sounds good. Forgive me if I look distracted. I am going through and checking us out because we are live on Pedalboard to Doom, my page, Emmanuel's page, Tonepedia page, Fret Talk page, and on YouTube. So if I look a little bit distracted, that's what I'm doing.
It's going like training for your multitasking skills today.
Oh, it's it really.
Not a guitar player would take a look at these guitars, they would probably look a little like alien to that person. So like you've been probably asked that question 1,000 times, but what was your intention to cut off the hat?
You weren't the first
Well,
to do that, were you?
No, it's been done before, and back in the day when I was a young lad and played the guitar, I owned a Hohner headless guitar, which I mean I liked it and didn't like it. I liked the technology and the ideas behind it. I didn't necessarily like the guitar. It was horribly like not ergonomic with that. It had the original Steinberger body shape, which was just this rectangular small piece. But it just made an awful lot of sense with being able to make a more lightweight guitar that was not neck heavy. So just to remove the weight from the headstock and get a more balanced instrument. That kind of made sense to me. And again, so this was back in the 80s when I kind of played myself, and then I didn't for many years. And when it was time to build myself another guitar, because that's literally how this whole thing started. Was I was going to build myself a guitar.
Had you ever done that before?
Say again?
Had you ever built a guitar before?
I had actually in my teens. So I grew up tearing stuff apart, putting them back together, figuring out how things worked. And with like not financially strong, if I put it that way. I mean, I would embroider my own Lacoste crocodile bad business too cheap. That's the kind of thing that I would do. So building a guitar seemed like an avenue to better value for money, if we put it that way. Because I mean, now you can buy awesome, very cheap guitars. When I grew up, you really couldn't.
No.
If you an affordable guitar was a horrible guitar.
Yeah, I've often said that we live in a golden age for someone who wants to like pick up the instrument for the first time. It's just unbelievable.
That's something I can't think of, because like literally the first solo I learned from a YouTube video, and you know, the first amplifier I had was a plug-in. So it's weird to hear that. Like I couldn't afford guitar gear, which is like so cheap nowadays.
Yeah.
But well, like something that I find fascinating from your story right now is that it wasn't initially a design choice. It was like that you were like, okay, the guitars. The problem of many guitars is that they are actually neck heavy, and that is something which is like, you know, nothing very efficient. So that was the initial reason why you want to remove it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of approached this project instead of just building myself another guitar. I approached it as like an industrial design project. So I didn't approach it from like a luthier perspective, that I'm going to build the most magnificent guitar. It was more like I'm going to solve a problem. I'm going to like trying to address some of the issues with a guitar.
Yeah.
Like repetitive stress injuries, like all kinds of neck and back issues.
Yeah.
And I was at this time, my day job was in product management. So it was about, you know, figuring out requirements for products, meeting user requirements and stuff like that. So it kind of just made sense to dream up this product concept, which I call the ergonomic guitar system.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was just to make it interesting to me. It wasn't with the intention of actually like selling it to others, even though somewhere I guess in the back of my mind, I thought that was a possibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't necessarily look at like what else was out there, or I hadn't played for 15 years. I hadn't paid attention whatsoever to what the music industry had been doing, or what had happened with guitars in the 15 years that I hadn't played. So I kind of started with just an open mind and a blank piece of paper.
It's
And
really
I was
good.
also shocked. I was also shocked, like coming into the business again, or looking in a music store and realizing that in 15 years, nothing had happened.
You gotta look back. Like the guitars didn't really change from like the whenever people started playing guitar up until about the 50s. They were kind of like acoustic or electroacoustic, and then you had Les Paul and Leo Fender that kind of like made a big change there. And it wasn't until like the 80s that people started kind of retrofitting them, but they didn't really change all that much. The pickups changed and that, but it was still like super strats basically. And then you went and did this, and it's the biggest kind of like, well, it's the biggest change up that I've seen in guitars. Well, I think that any of us have seen in guitars, to be honest. And I'm not just kissing your butt there. I think it pretty much stands to reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you can like see the big smile on my face all the time, it's because I'm just looking at a Les Paul I brought from the studio right now, and I'm just trying to think like, well, if no one would have done it before, I just removed the headstock because it could make the guitar be a better instrument in the end. I mean, it's just so crazy to get into that mindset, that if you haven't seen something like that before, to like, you know, take this step and remove an integral part of the instrument. It appears so crazy to me.
Yeah.
And like,
but at the same time, I think that's what happened when the Gibson Les Paul was designed, when the Fender Stratocaster were designed, when the Steinberger design came about. I think they kind of came about it from the same perspective.
Yeah.
So and then it set like they became historical, iconic guitar models.
Yeah.
I guess this one also like actually became one. So
The Bowden just
as
looks
as you
awesome. It really does. It really looks
it,
metal. It's such an awesome looking machine.
and things you've mentioned is basically not only the way the instrument turned out in the end, but the whole complete like approach you had when designing the instrument was very scientific, I'd say, because actually that's what you do in science. You have a problem, and then you try to solve the problem with any method that would be suiting. And there are problems that probably are existent for every guitar player, and there are problems that some guitar players can feel more than others, I'd say. For example, like said, that some instruments, and especially like the instruments you had, were pretty neck heavy, right? And that is something you wanted to address by removing the headstock. Like for example, I have a couple of old Les Pauls I used when starting out, and they are neck heavy as fuck actually. So but I'm a big dude. I'm like 190 centimeters and I weigh more than 100 kilos. So when I have these guitars and play a show with them, I don't actually feel anything. But like the first time I really felt that these guitars, like obviously they're pretty light, but that it really makes a difference is when I handed it to my wife, because she's like half of me actually. I was like, okay, take this guitar, and she was like, oh man, it's so heavy. And I handed her this guitar, and she was like, yeah, that feels nice, I can take it with me. So actually like seeing problems that are present for these types of guitar players is also something that turned out to be very useful probably in the end for this product.
Can I ask you a question relating to what Emmanuel just said there? It's usually considered that the more wood you chop away of a guitar, unless you're going for an acoustic where you're getting the resonance and that sort of thing, the more tone you lose. But you've managed to avoid that. How have you done that?
Well, I think a lot of it is about the sum of all the parts and how they interact with each other. And I just think, I mean, if there's something that's lightweight and stiff that anchors the strings, then you're not going to lose sustain, because that's what people generally refer to when they say cutting weight renders a worse instrument. It's the loss of sustain, which is, I mean, sustain would be associated with the heavier the better.
Yeah.
But I think that's a result of, I mean, what's going to determine how the string vibrates and ultimately transfers sound to the pickups or magnetic signal is how the string is anchored into the body. So it's the anchoring point at the headstock, and it's the anchoring point at the body. And those will define whatever happens as you hit the string, and whatever's like in between these two anchoring points. So a very big component of the way a Strandberg guitar behaves is because of the hardware is made from aircraft grade aluminum. So it's as light as possible instead of as heavy as possible. So it's like completely opposite of like the standard thinking in guitars. You want a brass bridge because it transfers the vibrations so well.
Right.
The heavier the better. So I turn all of that completely around, as light as possible, to put as little mass between the string and the guitar body, and also just lock everything down. So anything that can move or vibrate or slide against some other surface, just lock it down and have the most efficient transfer of vibrations from the string to the body.
That is one of my least favorite games, is find the vibration on my Les Paul. Yeah.
But that Yeah, I guess in my mind that's what makes it work. So just do the opposite kind of
Like
thing.
if at some point in human history there will be an opportunity to study guitar building, then you should be the prof for that. Definitely, like it's like from the player's perspective. Like I've never built a guitar. I hardly can change strings on a Floyd Rose. So I'm not. I like in Germany we say I have two left hands. You know, and it's just crazy to hear things like these details you can approach about a guitar. It's just fascinating for me at least.
We've got
Yeah.
sorry. We've got a couple
Yeah.
of comments. We've got Stephen V on YouTube has said he loves his original 6. He says, Ola, you're a genius and can't wait to get his Prog 7 in the mail. So that's great to see.
Good
And
stuff.
we've got a comments from our very own Elad saying he's been struggling with difficulties to play the guitar due to a car accident. And honestly, Strandberg guitars makes it easier for him to play because, like you say, the ergonomics of it. And that's lovely to hear because there's so many people you hear like, oh, I've had this accident or that accident, I'm not be able to pick up my guitar and these sort of things. And like,
Yeah.
it's not a disability tool, but it can help.
Yeah, and another side effect of having this lightweight instrument, so light and stiff, is that it's more responsive. It's just more dynamic, and there's more headroom in the notes as you hit them. So you don't have to strike it as hard, and you can play with a very light touch, and that lets people play with more relaxed. You can hit it heavy and you can dig in and it'll handle that, but at the same time you can play it very softly, and I think that's something that a lot of people appreciate, but it's also something that can be to the point of being intimidating to someone that's used to playing like an East 335 where nothing happens until you dig in.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a delay between you hit the string and you actually hear it. Whereas on a Strandberg guitar, it's instant. It responds so much more quickly than many conventional guitars.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I had in mind because I have a student who owns a Strandberg guitar. It's a little Ola. It's still from the day where you had like custom shops and stuff like that. And like after him, there's another student who is a bit older and who is into blues actually, but he came to me to learn some faster licks and stuff like that. And so, at some point, I was jamming with the Strandberg guy, and the other one came in a little early, and he was like, "This guitar looks crazy. Can I play it?" And he owns like basically probably any guitar that Gibson and Fender ever released. Like he's a full vintage guy, and he played this guitar. And he was like, this is so it's so easy that I don't even I almost feel ashamed like when I'm doing my bends and stuff like that. He said that he would like to have a guitar. He likes the feeling of fighting the guitar. He likes to have a guitar that is making him have a hard time when playing. That was crazy because he would instantly like play a little better with less power and had a better like hand positioning and stuff like that when he grabbed up the Strandberg guitar.
Do you know what? I understand that.
Some people hate that. Yeah, and I mean that's
exactly.
That's what kind of makes this whole thing interesting, and the whole tone wood debates and stuff. That there's literally nothing that like objectively makes one guitar better than another. I mean, from a purely mechanical perspective, a guitar can be like it'll go out of tune as you play it. That's objectively probably not good. But beyond that, I mean,
most of mine do that.
A guitar that someone would think is horrible is another one's dream guitar, and there's no right or wrong.
Totally.
I think it's very dependent on what you're looking to play. If I want to play some sort of like dirty blues, then sometimes you do want the guitar to fight you a little bit. If I want to play something that's going to be a million notes a second, just behind Emmanuel, then I'm something like the Strandberg is something like that is bang on.
Yeah,
Well,
then it helps, of course. Certain instruments are more appropriate for certain scenarios.
Definitely.
yeah.
If I want to
Like
look
my-
awesome, then I pick up one of them.
Well, that's for sure. Like the student I have who has the Strandberg guitar, he has another he has a couple of another guitars as well, and like we have this game going on. He is doing pretty well financially, and he just like wants to learn fastly got stuff like that is what he's going for. And to achieve that speed, what I tell him is you have to put your hand in the proper position. And like the game that we're having is every time I see your thumb appearing on top of the neck,
You cut it off.
like here's a box. Yeah, no, you got to put €2 on that. And literally every lesson that he's coming in with his Fender Strat or whatever he has, I'm very happy because I know that I earn shitload of money after the lesson. And every lesson that he's coming in with his Strandberg guitar, it's like that his hand is automatically going to the right position, and that is because of this like in the first place pretty strange shaped neck. And I think it would be interesting if you like would talk us through that a little, like through the design of the neck, because it is anything but nothing that would appear usual in the first place, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's basically it's a trapezoid, so cut off triangle, which is shifted in one direction on one end, the end of the neck, and just shifted the other direction on the other end of the neck. So it kind of snakes itself along the length. And there's basically two things going on. One is having those three distinct surfaces is more relaxing to the hand. The profile is also a little bit thicker than what is normal, but the way that it's shaped, it kind of tricks your head into experiencing it as thinner than it is, which it freaks a lot of people out because they say, "Oh, I like the Ibanez Wizard 2 necks from 1980, whatever, the thinnest ones. How thick is your neck?" I usually just say, "Well, let's not talk like measurements. You just play it and see what you think."
I've actually put
And
a
it's very
picture.
rare. It's very rare that people think of them as thick, but they're way chunkier than most.
On screen
that
at the
actually
moment,
helps.
Sorry, boys. On screen at the moment, you can see. Sorry. So I was just saying that on screen now, you should be able to see the neck up close, and if you pay attention to where the light's hitting it, you can see where at the far right of the screen, the light is a little bit lower, and as it goes towards the body, the light is higher, and that's where the light is shining off how the neck moves, how the back of the neck moves. So that helps you position your hand. It is a very, very unfamiliar, but at the same time easy to use and nice feeling neck, let's say, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, because it basically does two things. So with those three distinct surfaces, it encourages a better thumb placement. Not saying that you have to put it on the center portion. You can,
something like that is
certain scenarios make sense to put it on like all three surfaces, but it's also more restful to the muscles and joints and tendons in your hand. And then the way that it snakes itself is it's inspired by this a luthier called Jerome Little, who came up with what he calls a torsal twist, which is the entire neck actually twists, which lets you play with a straighter wrist as you extend your arm. So that's a very complicated thing to build, especially if you want to do like serial production, and it would freak a lot of guitar techs out if you came with a guitar like that. So I knew I wanted that function, but I knew I didn't want to like build it that way. So as I was messing around, I realized that I could trick your hand into doing the same thing with this profile, and that then relaxes your wrist and forearm.
Yeah.
So like everything together, yeah, this lets you practice for longer without getting tired and improve as a player. And I think also play more relaxed.
There's definitely something to it. Like, I have a student who is like interested in having a Strandberg guitar, and then he played that guitar from the other student I have, and I have a lot of students, by the way. No, but he was a little afraid of the neck because he was like, am I ready to play this weird shaped neck? Actually, it's like the complete opposite. You don't have to be a master to play this neck. I think it will make your master more easily. And like the neck position that I think is the best one for stuff I do for shredding. I'm not talking for the blues guys, but it's like, your thumb is pretty parallel to your middle finger, I'd say. And it is on a pretty low level so that you have space to move and stretch your fingers. And like shredding for all my life, this hand position became like second nature. Whatever guitar I grab, I have this position, and it can also be a baseball neck. But a beginner, like the most struggle some of my students have when they want to shred is that they don't get into a proper hand positioning, and that they sometimes forget it. And sometimes it's like literally they play something and they can't do a stretch or whatever because they forgot while playing that they have to put their hand like this. And when they play this neck, it's kind of that it's the most natural thing you would do with this neck. If you grab up the guitar, that is your hand position, kind of. So if it's not second nature to you, if you're not a very experienced guitar player, this neck maybe can even help you to get a better guitar player by forcing you to have a proper hand position. That's kind of how I would think about this neck.
Yeah,
or at least
promotes...
encouraging you to a better position.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the way that the body is shaped. You can vary the playing position and you can find whatever's comfortable in your lap, which a lot of other guitars won't let you like comfortably sit like that. It forces you to put it on your right leg.
Like we Elad, our CEO, he is that blues rock and roll dude. He's always playing cool like that with the guitar on his right, and it works. And when I'm playing, I'm having this on the ground. I learned it the classical way, and it also works.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You always like about to knock yourself out with the headstock, which is just as well that there isn't one. We've got a couple of questions, guys. We've got Crazy Tom Wise said, would you ever want a self-tuning tremolo system compete with Floyd Rose and Tronic Tune? So I'm not sure what he means by that, but I'm guessing that the self-tuning tremolo system is like the Evertune sort of systems. Have you ever toyed with those?
No, I've seen it. I've held one, but I haven't really like messed around with one. I've looked at it from like a technical perspective and try to understand how they're actually made. And I think they do what they set out to do very well, I think, from a functional perspective. But they kind of go against the goals of the Strandberg design, which is as few components as possible, as minimalistic, as general purpose, as lightweight as possible, as little movement or potential of like parts rubbing against each other.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it doesn't fit in at all with what I've been trying to accomplish with the designs. So it's a beautiful piece of engineering in its own right, but it's incompatible with the Strandberg idea.
Makes sense. Crazy Tom also asked, I'm sure he wasn't christened Crazy Tom, but he also asked about the Tronic Tune is the Gibson Robot. I think your previous answer kind of relates to that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think I don't know how much those weigh, but I mean, sticking a bunch of robot tuners at the end of a headstock, I think that would also be it would be incompatible with the Strandberg idea. So I mean, I think I've set out to make a guitar that holds tuning once you've tuned it.
Yeah.
So there's no need for robotics. And then you have to obviously have an ear or a tuner to get there in the first place. But I think that
I think just what makes people feel that this type of gadget would fit to a guitar is that robotics is something they would connect to science and efficiency, and Strandberg is also something that would connect to these things. So,
well, given the response that Gibson had,
we have the V-Bowden, the modeling guitar that we did in collaboration with Boss that does alternate tunings at a knob, but does it through modeling and not robotics.
Oh,
that's pretty cool. Ricardo Batista asked, when will the Pliny model be available again? Is that a model? Is that a one of your signature models?
Yeah. Soon. Yeah, I mean these days in these times, it's really hard to predict. We've had a lot of we had a lot of supply issues with pickups and strings, and also swamp ash. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this global swamp ash shortage situation. Yeah. So there's pace of production issues going on there, but then the other thing is shipping. It's really hard right now to organize shipping at a reasonable cost from Asia. But we have stuff on its way. Shipment just arrived in the US. We have one on its way here to Sweden, where we serve the European market.
Okay,
so it's on its way.
I didn't realize when I asked that if it was about the shipping thing. I thought it was a model that was previously available that they were going to ask if it could be available again. Apologies for that.
No, it's available. It's just sold out.
Okay, brilliant.
Although I think people are also asking about a new Pliny model that we have a new coming out, which is the neck through construction for Pliny.
Oh.
And that's we don't have a release date yet. Pliny literally approved this sample just a couple of days ago.
Okay, so you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to talk us through these guitars then, sir?
Yeah, why not?
I meant Emmanuel, but sorry. Okay.
How about me playing you through these guitars and Ola talking us through these guitars?
Yeah,
we can work together on that one.
Before you do that, I've got to say to the ladies and gentlemen watching, Emmanuel's camera is jumping around all over the place, and we have no idea why it does this occasionally. So apologies to that. Right, okay, I'm going to transition over to you so the ladies and gentlemen can see you, but they'll still be able to hear Ola and I.
Who's you? You is me. All right. So yes. What I got here is the Strandberg 7 Standard, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. As I said in the beginning, this is probably the cheapest 7-string model you can get, but it features all the trademark Strandberg features. For example, how was the neck called? Like Endure neck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The Endure neck, which is default on all the guitars, right?
It is, yeah.
So it doesn't matter which guitar you pick up, if it's the cheapest, if it's the most expensive or whatever, all of them are lightweight, all of them are balanced, all of them have these neck profiles. So these are features that are available for every Strandberg guitar ever. So what makes this guitar probably a little cheaper is the pickups in the first place, right? Because these are Strandberg pickups. What can we expect from that?
I would say you can expect kind of what you would expect out of. We've tried to like find a balance of something that meets the needs of a modern 7-string player. So they're kind of voiced to be in as a general purpose kind of 7-string pickup. But with them like without a brand name on them and without like separate marketing packages, obviously they come out at a much lower manufacturing cost to us.
Well, so you haven't got the markup of someone else as well, have you? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So let me just play like some bits and pieces. Just if you guys are curious about the signal chain, so I have this guitar. This guitar goes into the amp that you can see behind me, which is a Hughes & Kenton Black Spirit 200, and from there we're going to my Mac, direct to Logic, and I don't have the capsim activated. It has a built-in capsim, but what I'm using right now is the Zilla IR plugin from GGD. So that is what you guys will hear now. So let me first start with my rhythm. So I think it sounds pretty brutal, to be honest. What I particularly like about these pickups and the sound in general is that these pickups are not like super high gain pickups, right? So if I would plug in a Fishman pickup like spec guitar, which I have next to me, which we'll do in a second, I think it would be a little more gain, but they are pretty clear, which definitely fits like the 7th string pretty good. So it's like with some passive pickups and 7th string, they might sound a little muddy, but I don't think that this guitar sounds muddy. It sounds pretty like there's a lot of definition and a lot of clarity, though these are passive ones. So what they can do though is they also call tap. So like this is the bridge position, right? Second position is the bridge pickup call tap, right?
I think it's the 2 inner coils of each respective pickup.
Let me show people how it sounds on like clean sound. So definitely you can tell that it's the same kind of sound. Let me play some a little bit more. Right, so it sounds like a little sparkly, as you would expect it from a singer coil. Now, if you go to the middle position, what do we got then?
It would be the both humbuckers.
Both humbuckers, all right. That might maybe be cool with a little medium gain stuff. That sounds thick, mate.
I really love
Actually, I lied about both of these positions. I mistook the schematic. So actually, the position you had before is the bridge pickup, but in parallel with the outer coil of the neck pickup.
Okay.
And then the middle position is a nice one. So it's the bridge in parallel with the neck outer coil in series with the neck inner coil.
Does that give
people,
it?
let's just forget about it, and then people can go to our website to see the exact specs.
It sounded
Alright,
a little
then-
bit like the second position away from the neck on a Strat. You know, without the sort of you've got the middle and you've got the neck pick up together. It's my favourite position on the Strat, and that's what that sounded like. Just through my headphones, I thought it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, let's without worrying too much about the exact like connections. It's 5 very usable sounds.
That is probably true. Now let me go to the neck, like to the 5th position, which is probably the neck pickup, right?
It actually is, yes.
It actually is. All
So
right.
yeah, position 1 and 5 are the completely predictable ones, and then
All
what
right.
happens in between is like
Who knows?
four more cool sounds.
So this is what I would usually use for
Sorry,
hiding lead sounds.
Are you saying
Yeah.
there's 6 positions on that switch?
Sorry, no. I mean, I've had a senior moment. Three more.
I got really excited then. I don't know why.
I can't count.
I can
No,
go either. I'm a musician. Well, okay. That is actually now how the neck. Well, it's very fun to play like melodic lines with that because it has like a very good feeling sustain. Do you think it also can handle some shred?
I should say so.
I think it can.
Well, it's amazing.
Let's
mean-
should we hear this 8-string then? Because there's something quite unique about the 8-string, isn't there?
Yeah, there it is. So let me mute my sound here so that we don't have that going on. So this is not only the Strandberg Bowden 8-string, but this is a true Temperament 8-string, right?
It is indeed.
Oh, before we go any further, Ola, I must congratulate you on your April Fools this year. That was awesome. That was absolutely brilliant. So, if you missed it, what Strandberg put out a post suggesting that they'd created a true Temperament string, and it was just bent in. Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we had so much fun making that, and we made it like a week in advance. And I was like, I'd laugh to myself every day, just think in anticipation of launching this.
I loved how many people were actually like, "Oh yeah, I'll have some of them."
So
I honestly think that in theory you could actually construct true temperament strings. Not exactly like we made them, but I think theoretically it could be done.
Kind of like different gauges as the string goes along, sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, just create small dead portions of the string. Who knows? One day.
Yeah, it's probably much easier to do the fretboard.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay.
So, in case anyone of our viewers was wondering why I was tuning this guitar so weird, is because a true Temperament guitar is not tuned the way you tune a usual guitar. So, and that is something I had to learn the painful way, because what I did when we recorded the Strandberg guitars for Temperament is I was just tuning them the way I always tune my guitars, and I was playing all the demos. And a day later, like our studio guy Daniel called me and was like, "Hey man, how did you tune the guitar yesterday?" I was like, "How I tune my guitars for like the last 15 years." He was like, "Oh shit, no! What you gotta do is tune like the E note in every string. So instead, like you don't play the B note on the B string and then just go for a B, but what you do is you E and then tune to the perfect E. That's how you do it." And a good side effect besides like all the ergonomics and stuff we talked about is that a true Temperament Strandberg guitar will actually teach you music theory, because if you own a guitar like this, you will know all.
Notes are.
Well, you can also buy. It's also available as 6 and 7 string, right? So you can also go for that. Now, why the hell do you put these strange-looking frets onto this guitar?
Well, the True Temperament, it's another Swedish invention, so we didn't come up with it. There's a company called True Temperament, and it is another Swedish invention, and it came about from this guy Anders Tidell, just being tired of his guitars being out of tune. Doesn't matter. I mean, if certain chord would sound fine, other chords would sound awful, and he set about like figuring out how to just position the frets so that it would play as much in tune as possible, because basically everything on a guitar is a compromise, and the intervals between the notes aren't equal. And there are various ways of attacking that, but if you do it like through pure mathematics, it still doesn't sound right to the ear when you play it. So this is actually tuned by ear to make it sound as pleasing regardless of key you're playing in.
That's very interesting. Does the fan fretting go some way to answer that as well?
Somewhat, because part of what makes the guitar play out of tune, and part of why you have to adjust the bridge position, so do an intonation of the guitar, that's because there's a dead portion of the string at the bridge and at the nut. So as you hit the string, there's going to be a small portion of it that doesn't vibrate.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah,
and that
I'd
error
think about that.
is larger. Yeah, so basically the thicker the string is, the longer that dead portion is.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
So then the longer the scale length is for a thicker string, the less error you get, like percentage-wise.
Yes.
Cool.
So
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the fan frets help with that to a certain extent, but it's not, fan fret is not the way to address the tuning primarily.
If I understand rightly, that the dead spots is where the string is closest to the net and not in the bridge, as you said, but that doesn't grow too much. That hardly grows at all if the string is longer, because it's about the thickness, not the length of the string. So
but the
if you have the bridge
length, the length of the dead portion in relation to the string length gets smaller and smaller. The longer the scale length is, the smaller percentage is dead, if you will.
Makes a lot of sense. Oh, I love that.
So cool. True Temperament compensates for both of these things. It compensates for the intervals not being the same, and it compensates for that intonation aspect.
You've made my day. I love learning stuff like that. Absolutely love it.
So it's I like to think of it as, I mean, the way that Strandberg guitar is designed, it's ergonomics for your body, and True Temperament is like ergonomics for your ears. So it's, I mean, the difference isn't night and day, but I mean, as you play different chords, they just sound more harmonious, or they ring louder than they would otherwise, because otherwise there's all these cancellations going on and like notes competing with each other.
Yeah.
which is, I mean, that's what a guitar is about for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's what people associate with the guitar. So some people, when they play true temperament guitar, is like, where's this like tension that I'm expecting when I play these chords, and they miss that.
Yeah.
But
So,
other people just say, "Holy crap, I'm in tune suddenly," and then they can play more relaxed from that perspective too. They don't have to like micro bend strings to make the chords play in tune.
yeah, I
Yeah,
get
and
that.
if you guys like want to test that out, because as I mentioned, there's also a 6-string version of the Strandberg 2 Temperament, and there's a playing style on the Strandberg Playground or also on the Tonepedia page, which is called basic chords. So what you can do, and I would recommend to use very good headphones for that. But what you can do is like get any guitar and then put Strandberg 6-string 2 Temperament next to it, and then see if you can actually hear the difference in tension from the notes when you hear them head by head. Like obviously any guitar you will hear is very good, is like perfectly in tune, but actually it would be interesting if you can just hear that by using Tonepedia.
Yeah.
So what I think is funny, like Sweden's like seem to be problem-solving machines, because like you were like, my guitar was neck heavy, so I removed the neck. I was tired of neck heavy guitars, and now there's another Swedish guy neck heavy. I removed the neck. That would be awesome. Like guitar with head, and now there's another Swedish guy who's like, yeah, I'm tired of guitars that go out of tune, so I just make them be in tune, So I wonder if I would have a problem if I can just like give it to you and you sell it for me.
We have long and dark winters.
Yeah, don't I know?
So enough in theory about this guitar. Let's get our hands on it. So whatever this finish is called, it looks gorgeous. It looks like, Oblivion kind of thing, if you know what I mean. It looks, it's very gorgeous. It's very well made. The guitar, for being an 8-string, is pretty light as well. The neck feels like basically the same thing as with the 7-string, but just a little wider. But it's still very comfortable to play. And this is literally like, and this is something I felt with all the Strandberg guitars. Strandberg is a company that brings the guitar to the customer with a very with a good setup, because this is like literally the lowest 8-string action I've ever had. The action is so low, and it's like that. Like all the Strandberg guitars I've played, the action was so low, and let me just shred a couple of lines to show to our viewers what is possible with it. It's like stuff like that is working on an 8-string guitar, and I'm not an 8-string player. I don't own an 8-string guitar actually, and it feels very natural to play on this guitar, stuff like that.
It's cool. What gauge is that? That low? What is it? A low A or something? No, a low E.
F sharp
gauge string from the factory.
Cracky.
Yeah, so you stole it from the bass department, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's fantastic.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No. I thought what we would do is, because you mentioned it, I just wanted to show the audience the Strandberg playground that we created with Strandberg. So this is Tonepedia and Strandberg together. Do you mind if I just do that quickly?
Yeah,
go for it. It's cool.
So here we have, this is the website, and as I go down here, this is Strandberg's guitar, strandbergguitar.com/playground, and come down here and look at that. How pretty is that? You've got a bunch of different amps. You've got 6505, Fender's Boss Katana, AC30, and so on and so forth. And you can click here and look what you get. You get all of these different guitars that you can choose from. At the moment, these are all 6 strings, but there is more to come not too far off. So have loads of fun with that, and we'll put a link to that in the description. And back to Emmanuel.
What's going on? So, Ola, what is the main difference between this guitar and this guitar, besides having an extra string?
Yeah, well, they're a little bit different in the construction itself. So the original Strandberg design is chambered. So it it has tone cavities, both the top portion of the guitar and the bottom portion. So it's like an enlarged control cavity. So basically, you have the body itself, which is carved out, and then there's a solid maple top glued on top of that. So it's a drop top, which is bent. So from the construction perspective, that is a little bit different from the standard line, which is a solid body. So it's no longer chambered. The guitar you're holding has a solid figured maple top, whereas the standard it's also solid top, but a plain maple. So it has a figured veneer glued on top just for cosmetic purposes.
Okay.
And then the guitar you're holding also has Fishman pickups, so it's brand name pickups rather than our own Strandberg ones. And then obviously the frets are very different.
Yeah. Okay.
All of our guitars have stainless steel frets, standard, and the True Temperament frets are like a special instance of that. They're also stainless. They didn't used to be. They were cast in this silicon bronze alloy before, which has a slightly tarnished reputation. But these guys are amazing. The stainless steel True Temperament frets, just super slick.
I've heard really good things about stainless steel frets. I've still yet to try one, a guitar with them on, but I hear they're a little bit plinkier, but they never wear out, and they're just the way what you should have on a guitar if you can get them.
Yeah, I think they make a difference from durability, but also like what you said, plinky. Some people think of as I mean, the string rattle is always there on guitars, but with nickel silver frets, it's not as apparent. So the same action, the same amount of string rattle is much more noticeable on a stainless steel fret guitar. So that's something that some people react when they first get a Strandberg, and if they manually, you said we ship with low action, and we do, but if you lower them even more, so you get string rattle, it's more apparent on stainless steel frets. But that doesn't come through the speakers necessarily, but you can hear it acoustically.
The people message you saying, "Oh, this has happened." You're like, "Yeah, it's supposed to."
Like we had that year where we released an album, was a couple of years ago, but we had like around 100 gigs or so in that year. And I had two main guitars back at the time, and the one had stainless steel frets and the other one had, I don't know what it was, but literally like the stainless steel fret guitar, after recording an album and playing 100 gigs and also like a couple of sessions, studio jobs here and there, after that year, like the fret work was still very good. I brought it to my guitar tech and he was like, I don't need to do anything. Where the other guitar, he was like, mate, I need to refret the whole guitar because it's screwed. So it definitely makes a difference concerning like the duration that they will last. Also for like touring and professional guitarists, that's definitely a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So we had a little of shred with this guitar, but I think that most of the guys who will pick up this guitar will want to hear some low riffs. So let me try to release my inner Meshuggah and
Do you know what? I'm streaming this to my own page as well, and I'm just wondering if any of my aunties are listening. So look, we're up at the hour. It's been really, really lovely speaking with you, Ola. Do you have any questions for us at all?
If I have questions for you?
Yeah, there's a curveball for you, isn't it?
Oof, very much so.
You can say no.
No, I can't think of any.
That's fine. I will apologise. There are people who have asked questions. We haven't been able to get to them. Apologies for that, guys. But hopefully we'll be able to get them answered in the comments section. But yeah, Ola, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really entertaining. Actually, I've enjoyed it, and it's been cool to learn some new stuff. Stuff that I can bore my wife with.
My absolute pleasure.
Brilliant. Okay. And Emmanuel, thank you so much for playing. You handled them like I definitely wouldn't be able to. So well done, mate.
Merci.
Right. So I'll say goodbye, and you guys can also say.
All right. Here you go. Thanks for watching.
Maybe we went on 1, 2. Like, no. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to visit www.strandberg.com and also www.tonepedia.com, and we will make sure to post both of the links down to the comment section.
That should be strandbergguitars.com.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I actually don't know where you end up with strandberg.com. I'd better check that out.
So you also learned something from us today. Wow. All right. See you guys. Goodbye.
All right.
See you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.